Good evening and welcome to Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories. I am Star Smart. Let's begin. One could say May was not a good month for the Cameroon forces of occupation in Amazonia. For some, the idea of total freedom is gradually becoming a reality, and regardless of how long it takes, it declares Southern Cameroon has the will and spirit to gain hard territorial sovereignty and have her restored independence recognized within the community of nations. The fabricators of the fake union called the Republic of Cameroon knew this as far back as 1960, but why waste the lives of innocent people in a war they know they can't win? Meanwhile, within the context of the ongoing conflict in former British Southern Cameroon's Amazonia, a lot of ugly faces have come up with the aim not only to facilitate the actions of La Republique du Cameroon on Amazonia, but most especially to turn the people of Southern Cameroon's Amazonia against the Amazonian Restoration Forces. As it is often said, nothing can be hidden under the sun. It's been confirmed those bent on sabotaging the struggle are meeting a Waterloo one after the other. We have more in the full briefings of Undaunted tonight, but first, the prime headlines.
All right, for tonight, La Republique du Cameroon Transport Ministry prescribes new method to combat road accidents. A 47-year-old dead and dumped on his farm in Santer. Ambassador Henry Fusang endorses Dr. Sako's stand on referendum. Moja Moja gets disconnected from source of supply. Barrister Kenyan kidnapped after participating in our TV debate program. And on the foreign scene, China and BRICS are forming an alliance to dominate the global economy. Now let's get the news in detail.
Our vision in this interim government is to make ABC a leader and a real war horse of our struggle. We want to grow it, expand it, hire and train more hands, and broadcast round the clock, around the world, and take command of the media space of this world.
You can enjoy all round the clock, 24/7 exclusive moments of bliss as an ABC Amba TV Club member. A cappella. Latest Nigerian stroke African movies, global politics, ABC Amba News and updates, historical documentaries, and lots more. In our daily programs, we have Undaunted, ABC Amba News, bringing into the news untold stories with Onyi Okpala and Star Smart. Exclusive discussion, revolutionary panel conversation, infotainment, edutainment, intro governmental debates on topical issues with Tar Paddy King, State of the Liberation Movement, Fronting IG and People of Ambazonia's Position, the Struggles Weekly Update with Secretary Martin Mungwa, PhD, FASCE, Health is Wealth, Health Education and Awareness within the Ambazonian Community with Dr. Yaya, Liberation Prayer, an intercessory ministry for Amazonia with Pastor Victor Mba, Our Freedom, Spiritual Awareness and Education for the Amazonian Community with Pastor Victor Mba and Pastor Commando, Church and Politics, neutralizing the myths and preconceived religious and political philosophies that limit the Christian involvement in the realms of decent politics, with Pastor Commando, The Horizon, The Voice of the Amazonian Woman, with Dr. Patience Abiedo, and Lady Casey, Our Amber History, bringing to limelight the hidden history of Amazonia to the world, with Pastor Commando. Appointment on community building, education on patriotism within the Amazonian communities, with Ma Rachel Itatima. Ethics for an Emerging Nation, watchdog of basic principles and morals of a nation at war, with Ma Dorothy Ngwa. Upcoming programs: Pigeon News, Vernacular Talk Show, County Roots, Activists Corner, Amba Focus, only on ABC Amba Television. We the people, the voice of the voiceless. For 24/7 access, subscribe as a club member on www.abcambatv.com/subscribe. Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Amazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com. Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Amazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com.
World Press Freedom Day 2023 celebration is just a month ago when freedom of expression was questioned in the Cameroons. Debate among journalists articulated much more on the freedom one has after freely expressing his or her mind. Indeed, with the colonial La Republic to Cameroon regime, there is no freedom after expression. The BS government is willing to violate all the human rights one can imagine to prevent the ills of the regime from being exposed, all government actions criticized. A regime like the La Republic de Cameroon's government that gives no room for rebuke or be challenged is not considered the betterment of her citizens, but only putting in energy and resources to protect those in with power. A barrister at law was picked up by the colonial agency that does the dirty jobs of the regime, the La République du Cameroun Military Security Service, with French acronym CIMIL, for saying the truth about the regime on an Equinox TV flagship program, Equinox Sir. The CIMIL element hijacked him in front of their TV station just after the program. The question is, why not confront him on another debate panel? Why torture him after the kidnap? Why put in so much energy and resources to cover the ills of the government, of the La Republic of Cameroon's government? Now let's begin here for tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Very well, Oni. Good evening, Ambazonians. The president of the Cameroon Bar Association, Barrister Mba Eric, has condemned the arrest of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement activist and lawyer Fabian Kegne and he has cautioned authorities concerned about the consequences such acts could have on public order. Barrister Kegne Fabian was arrested by elements of the La Republique du Cameroon Military Security Service, SEMIL, part of Equinox TV building in Accra, La Republic Economic Capital Douala on Monday, May 29th. After participating in the Equinox SOAR program, according to the Cameroon Bar president, the arrest of his colleague is an illegal and villainous act unworthy of a rule of law perpetrated against a citizen who happens to be a lawyer. He stated that Barrister Kegner was subject to harsh interrogation without any legal assistance. Fabian was subjected to a harsh interrogation without any legal assistance after being forced to undress with his cell phone and watch taken away from him as well. This, the lawyer revealed.
Well, he regrets the fact that such violations of public rights and liberties are becoming frequent with the La Republique du
The French Empire was one of the most powerful in human history. At its height, it controlled almost 10% of the world's land area. From Southeast Asia to West Africa, the country we today associate with baguettes and cinema was a dominant global power. And that was particularly
as ED ordered an investigation into the uncertain death of a University of Boyer student kidnapped and caged by elements of the SEMIL.
Well, Amazonia, one time a land loved and cherished by all, is today the hub of insecurity after the war. The colonial president of La Republique du Cameroon, Paul Biya, declared on the people of southern Cameroon. The colonial La Republic has formed so many armed groups to combat and sabotage the Amazonian Restoration Forces who are defending the Amazonian territory from the invading La Republique du Cameroon colonial forces. These La Republique du Cameroon sponsored armed groups are causing havoc and human rights violation in Amazonia. The rate of insecurity is alarming, and uncertainty is the spirit animating the people of Amazonia. One leaves the house now in Amazonia without being sure of returning safe. Seeing the next minute in southern Cameroon is now a miracle. A 47-year-old man has been murdered and dumped in the bush in Njong, Santa local government area. We're wondering who killed him and for what reasons.
Well, the lifeless body of the man has been found in his farm in Njong, a village in Santo local government area, Mason County of Ambazonia. Tilakwe Ignatius, aged 47, was discovered at about 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, on his farm at Nifumbar quarter in Njong village, a day after he went to the farm and never returned. Medical examinations indicated that he was molested and stabbed to death. Sources say Ignatius had gone to take care of his tomato farm, an activity he has engaged in for a long time before the unfortunate incident. According to a source, he says he left his house yesterday morning, 29th of May 2023, to his farm to transplant tomatoes he had nursed. The family waited to see him return in the evening as usual, to no avail. Attempts to have him on the phone by his wife were unsuccessful.
Further into the reports, the wife then reached out to other family members whose immediate thoughts were that he might have been abducted since it was a Monday traditionally known as Ghost Town Days or Country Sunday, as it is fondly called in the part of the country. Worried family members embarked on a search on the farm where he was found dead with signs of torture. Arriving at the farm, they discovered the tomato seeds he went to plant, with part lying on the ground and part of it planted. The source said, adding that his bike was seen parked in the next farm nearby. Footsteps were identified around where he was working, which they followed and discovered his lifeless body in the bush, not so far from where he was working.
Local administrative authorities were immediately notified, which led to some medical examinations establishing that he was molested and stabbed to death by yet to be identified individuals. Administrative authorities immediately appeared at the scene, and the medical doctor present reported that he was tortured and stabbed at the side, the neck, as well as the back, with the ears pierced through with a metal rod found at the scene. His hands, undaunted gathered, were equally tied with electric cables, with a knife and a cutlass as well.
While many locals suspect that he was killed by graziers who are constantly at loggerheads with farmers, his corpse has been deposited in the mortuary pending burial arrangement while investigations are underway to track down these terrible perpetrators.
All right, May has been good or has been a good month for the Cameroon forces of occupation in Ambazonia. According to available data, at least 15 of them have been killed, including the five who were blown up earlier yesterday with IED. Because of the difficulty with connectivity, we don't get to hear about everything that happens in the conflict. There might be more, but these 15 cases are at least confirmed.
Well, we came to realize that someone had someone who he was counting on after we received a snake bitten from his elder brother when we finished sharing what we took from him.
Well, an Ambazonia restoration force or two might have been dropped as well, if any, but with a relatively desired outcome. An escalating firepower can now be seen at the home front. One of yesterday's sad casualties was surprisingly Cornell. Francophone's blog are washed with videos of his recent wedding. Let's take a look.
An Amazonian restoration forces or two might have been dropped as well in the course of the battle between the La Republic of Cameroon and Amazonia, that is, if any, but with a relatively desired outcome as escalating firepower has been seen at the home front. A sad casualty yesterday is one that we just saw. It is reported that the young colonel has or he had a beautiful wife and two kids, none older than five. We wonder what would Amazonians be fighting for when they're fighting for the stolen independence and the restored independence of Amazonia that should be recognized. We wonder what are these other youths fighting for? Is it possible that they're fighting for the octogenarian pole bear? What's the vision behind the fight? How is La Republic expecting to even win the war? According to intelligence report, we are vision to inform you that June from the stables of the Amazonian Restoration Forces might not go easy as well. The Amazonian Restoration Forces have a better understanding of heavy rainforest. They say that the mountains and the entire terrain are well equipped with more sophistication.
Well, for some, the idea of total freedom is gradually becoming a reality. And regardless of how long it takes, it is now clear Southern Cameroon has the will and spirit to gain her territory sovereignty and have her restored independence recognized within the community of nations. The fabricators of the fake union called the Republic of Cameroon knew this as far back as 1960. But why waste the lives of innocent people in a war you know you can win? This is the situation report of the ongoing war and reality of what is happening at the home front. We will continue to bring you updates as the days unfold.
Former SCNC Chairman Ambassador Harry Fossung has endorsed the interim government Ikome Sako's stand against the proposal that a referendum should be organized to decide the fate of the former British Southern Cameroons. Just like President Ikome Sako would say, Ambassador Fossung agrees that any proposal on how to resolve Anglophone crisis and end the war should be done on the negotiation table and not the other way around.
Well, what you should know about Ambassador Henry Fusong. Henry Fusong, prior to his activism and fight for an independent Southern Cameroon, served as Cameroon's ambassador to the Central African Republic, Chad Republic, Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone. He also served numerous international committee conferences, including the UN Committee on Disarmament and Law of the Sea.
Well, Ambassador Harry Fosun's outing came after Ambazonia interim government president Dr. Ikome Samuel Sako media outing in which he stated that like in conquered Ukrainian territories and others facing similar problems and wars of occupation, organizing a referendum in former Southern Cameroons, British Southern Cameroons, will be out of place because they enjoyed their independence before. Sako had argued that as a territory that had enjoyed autonomy, the Southern Cameroon should not be subjected yet again to another referendum to decide its future, especially at a time that it has been occupied with thousands killed and hundreds of thousands displaced across Cameroon, neighboring Nigeria, and others fleeing to far away countries to seek refuge.
Dr. Sacco was speaking at the International Press Conference on the 8th of May 2023 to update the media on the state of the ongoing war of independence that has pitted pro-Anglophone independence fighters, Amba fighters against Cameroon government forces since 2017. In his outing, Ambassador Fusong said, through the ICJ and the Green Tea Accord, the international community has in a way recognized the boundaries of the former Southern Cameroons, a territory they have now chosen to call Amazonia. He said the ICJ kept the boundaries of Southern Cameroons intact by the right and he made in 1994. He said this was further implied by the Green Tea Agreement between Cameroon and Nigeria to the effect that the territory was in southern Cameroon and as such cannot be occupied. They know what we did achieve the basic objective of the trusteeship system. We were a trusteeship's territory, a child of the United Nations.
Well, according to Ambassador Fosun, there has been several attempts to unite the Republic of Cameroon and Southern Cameroons over the years. He says people have tried to push us into the arms of La Republique du Cameroon with all fraud. They failed because La Republique du Cameroon has rejected us quite a good number of times. He says, I think the war that they brought on us is one of those rejections, and that makes a fifth rejection, he said. On the famous resolution 1608, he said it is a non-starter because Great Britain denied the Southern Cameroons a chance to participate because they fear the people would only accept and do for themselves what is right.
Well, he said the war is meant to subdue the people of the former southern Cameroons after other options had failed. He quoted President Biya's outing in which he declared to the effect that they tried to assimilate the English-speaking regions of Cameroon and failed.
Well, to the former ambassador, now a proponent of a free Southern Cameroons, now called Amazonia, the war was meant to achieve with brute force what the various regimes in Cameroon had failed to achieve using other options. It says he stands with Sacco and other actors in the conflict who advocate for a negotiated solution and not a referendum to decide on the fate of the territory and end the unnecessary bloodletting.
There is this colonial commission called the Bilingualism Commission put in place of the drama that took place in Yaoundé in the name of a dialogue that is missing in action. The Strapping Arrangement Commission was given the mandate to reinforce the speaking of French and English languages in Cameroon, a means, according to the pretentious of Colonial La Republic de Cameroon, a step towards resolving the conflict in southern Cameroon. The type and nature of the English version of press release and La Republic's government communique, one will question the caliber of translators that are around such offices.
Well, this is evident by the fact that Francophones have occupied the functions naturally reserved for Anglophones, away from that hijack of all lucrative positions by the French speaking. There is this press release of the Colonial La Republique du Cameroon Minister of Transportation. The release is on the different measures and to curb road accidents in Cameroon. Surprisingly, normal with the La Republique du Cameroon's government's evasive strategy, the colonial minister has deliberately shied away from government responsibility for road construction. Now, how can measures be considered to curb road accidents without talking about the construction of the roads itself, which is the major cause of the numerous accidents we've been seeing in Amazonia?
While the Colonial La Republique de Cameroon Ministry of Transport, in a release, outlines steps envisaged to fight against the road accidents that are on the surge. To the dismay of right-thinking minds, the colonial minister completely shielded away from the La Republique de Cameroon's government's responsibility to step up the poor road network and the number cause of accidents. So, from the press release, the colonial ministers throws all blame for the different road accidents on road users without considering that it is the responsibility of the government to construct roads.
Now, according to the release, starting from June 1st, 2023, today, strict considerations will be the following on the different roads. One, the respect of speed limit. Two, check of the certificate of roadworthiness certificate. Three, the encouragement of all passengers to compulsorily use the seatbelt.
The fourth is to fight against overlaps of the continuous line and dangerous overtaking. Fifth, the fight against overloading and clandestine transport. Looking at the above translation, it is evident that point 3 and the third word on the point 4 were translated by a francophone.
The breaking news that got to us today says Fun of Bambalang was released in Bowie early today. Some of the royalties in Amazonia serve the colonial masters, not their people. It is well noted that for their colonial activities, they are regularly picked up by the Amazonian Restoration Forces for questioning. According to the reports from Amazonian Defense, chief of the Bambalang of the Fon of Bambalang was never under the custody of the genuine Amazonian Restoration Forces, that is, the Amazonian Restoration Forces under Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. They were under the forces of No PT, which we know is an integral part of the Unity Warriors.
Now, talking about the Unity Warriors have been totally disintegrated. They were nowhere to be found. Maybe they are afraid. Maybe because Shina Rambo is a brother of Nobiti. The Unity Warriors has never the Unity Warriors has been an initiative of Capo Daniels and the rest. You would agree with us that the outright fall of the Unity Warriors has sent a lesson to the warlords. Can they learn any lesson? Another question for tonight is, why did China Rambo surrender? What if he surrendered because of lack of ammunition? We would find out.
Well, we do not have any reports stating at any point that there was an ambush at any point, no arm exchange at any point either. So the logistical conclusion says it's an understanding that has led to the release. Well, watch out for exclusive discussion with Tara Patty King on Saturday as more insight will be thrown on this subject matter.
All right, let's talk about Moja Moja. The strength of a junior brother is an institution of learning, says the primary school is on the big brother in that same institution. Well, you would remember small boys in size in primary school there in Santa local government area. He would deny his mates puff, knowing that when one does that, others will seize it and share it to everybody.
Well, we came to realize that he had someone he was counting on after we received snake bitten from his elder brother when we finished sharing what we took from him. When we consider how Moja Moja has been acting very arrogantly lately, it was evident of the fact that the support behind him was huge. The financial support that Moja Moja was benefiting from was driving him crazy. The loss of finance means the beginning of the end of Moja Moja. This we got.
Well, report says the man sponsoring Moja Moja with bullets and also supplies him and his gang with bulletproof is at knife's edge with him. Well, he appears to be the bridge between Moja Moja and the Colonial Republic to Cameroon ministers. The money is sent from the colonial ministers through this man down to Moja Moja. This man will collect the money and give it to Moja Moja. It has been 3 months now since money was sent to him to give Moja Moja, but he never gave the money. So Moja threatened to kidnap his family members in exchange for the money.
Now, there is big trouble with Moja because one of his siblings is missing. Also, Moja Moja has lost two of his boys in the bushes by the name Scorpion and Lyonga. Well, the man sent his own boys to kill Moja Moja, but Moja was lucky to escape death as he was well beaten. That is why one will never see Moja Moja in a video again until the end of the war in Ambazonia, for his feathers has been clipped. This report we got from a source, Undaunted, unable to get the name but just his picture.
Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com. Payment method: www.abcambertv.com/donate. ABC Amber TV payment channels: Cash App 202-650-2216, Zelle 240-486-8768, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. PayPal donations at abcambertv.com. For more details, call +124 028 43 111. You can email us at info@abcambertv.com.
Ukrainian artillery yesterday reportedly destroyed part of one of Russia's most advanced surface to air missile systems in the Kherson region. Pictures of what looks to be the damaged 55K6E mobile command post confirmed the Ukrainian forces have targeted a Russian S-400 air defense system.
Well, the system was destroyed by a Ukrainian HIMARS strike during an attack on one of the warehouses in Kherson on the 20th of May 2023. The 55K6E is a truck-mounted command post container designed to integrate with specific interfaces and software of S-400 Triumph radar systems. The design shares the wheeled chassis of the Ural truck with other battery elements and uses a telescoping mast to maximize the RF data link coverage footprint.
While the mobile command post is designed to provide automated control of separate air defense missile systems and their combinations, making up air defense grouping. Now, the S-400 NATO reported name SA-21 Growler is a mobile surface-to-air missile SAM system developed in the late 1990s by Russia's Alma Central Design Bureau for Marine Engineering as an upgrade to the S-300 family.
All right. And after this break, we would bring you the editorial for today. Stay with us.
In our editorial of today, we start a new article titled Dealers Not Leaders, again by Marcus F. Abendung. May 20th, 1972 was a great deception, the day Ahijah stole what rights and futures they had left in exchange for a bowl of petrifying porridge, unity and harmonization. All that glitters is not gold. Letter bombs come in beautiful envelopes. Poisons does not become chocolate when parceled in a glittering foil full of hearts. In 1972, President Ahmadu Ahidjo packaged his unitary government in a glittering foil called Unity and Harmonization, Better Wages for Civil Servants. For this deception to go through, the plan needed gullible and greedy men to anchor on. Such was easily found in egotistical men like Muna, St. Muna, so badly wanted to get Foncha's position that he was ready to give an arm for it. This was made easier by the collective gullibility of the West Cameroon political class, which were each seeking to please the Yaoundé establishment so as to get a position at the table. Even wise men like Dr. Endeley were too blind to see through the veil of Ahidjo's 1966 one-party unity deception. Estimuna, we already know, was a man driven by unrivaled and uncontrolled ambition. But what happened to Dr. Endeley, who had warned his generation against the corrupting yeast of La République du Cameroon? How did they all not see that they were in fact endorsing the sale of their more civilized political culture and opening the door to all manners of uncultured political gymnastics? Having deprived the West Cameroon government of the necessary tax revenues, Ahidjo used salary harmonization as a bait to deceive West Cameroon state public servants to accept his unitary government in exchange for better pay. Our once objective and foresighted leaders fell for it. What an evil turned out to be. That unity came infested with a very great amount of corrupted yeast. Those who went to the 1972 political school should have learned the lesson of Ahidjo's yeast. Those hearing this short brief have the opportunity to learn the lesson that all that glitters is not gold. The motive behind every glowing call for unity must be deciphered and considered. For such deception to gain a foothold, it needs individuals whose egos, personal ambitions, quest and lust for power are greater than the collective well-being of their people. These F. Abandon calls anchormen, not TV or radio hosts. A more appropriate term for them he describes as dealers. They scout for deals, negotiate and strike deals behind the people and sitting leaders. Bring deals, they work to unseat legitimate leaders like Monaditu Augustin Ngomjua and Foncha, and this without remorse. The Amazonian struggle should watch out for these dealers passing around for leaders, as Mona most certainly left behind a great number of offsprings, physical and spiritual. Unity and collaboration are great virtues, the importance and need of which cannot be overemphasized for the proper execution of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia independence struggle. However, there is every need to examine and re examine each offer. It is possible that we rush into error out of desperation due to pain and impatience. Remember that it is better to err on the side of caution than to be ruined because of impatience. Is it normal that the very people who worked extremely, very hard to divide the Amazonian independence movement to splinter the interim government are the very ones calling for and holding unity and collaboration? Conferences in empty halls all over Europe and America. If these individuals meant well, should they not have repented first and apologized to the Amazonian people for the harm and hurt caused? How does one purposely so as to champion unity thereafter? The writer examines the matter from all angles and the posture of the interim government of President Samuel Ikome Sako to rubbish over and over every suggestion from Cooper's makes sense, a house built on a faulty foundation, it says cannot stand. F abandoned beliefs for the Amazonian quest to prosper, Chris Ano, Elvis Cometa, Carl Sinayangwe, and all dealers who have in one way or another contributed to the present fractures in the struggle should not be allowed to raise up their voices until after they have done the needful, apologize, or withdraw from the struggle. Those who have worked very hard to derail the struggle, thanks to their lost and egos, have absolutely nothing good to tell us until they apologize publicly to the Amazonian people. For as long as they have not done so, every suggestion from them should be interpreted as a ruse to trap, mislead, and destroy. Our writer believes we do not need Chris Anu and Coopers to tell us about a referendum. We knew since yesterday that it exists and could be used. Those who sincerely want Amazonia to be free know what to do. That they need to draft the dollars and not pile it from the public's till. They should encourage the Amazonian restoration forces to fight, and they should stay engaged and not ask them to stay low. That the freedom of homeland also comes first before their private estates in La Republic du Cameroon. They also know that they should speak the truth that saves and not spin lies and falsehood. If you have ever survived a letter bomb, then you will understand what our writer is talking about. The 1972 Ahijo deception was a huge letter bomb that exploded right in our faces, shredded them, ripping off our nose and despising our collective face. History has an uncanny way of repeating itself, but men are just too consumed by their loss and ambitions to learn from it. They fall for the same ruse over and over. The Ahijo unity yeast is very dangerous. That is why it hurts so bad when people who should by now be fountains of wisdom for the struggle advocate that the interim government joins Kupas in a useless conference whose clear agenda was and is to garner credibility to help the enemy execute its evil designs against the peoples of Amazonia. Holding conferences to sing the merits of a referendum or plebiscite when nobody has offered one is akin to the coalition for dialogue and negotiations. CDN mobilizing and spending thousands of dollars to strategize for negotiations instead of drafting to kick the enemy out of the territory. Do they call that diplomacy? Which comes first, the cart or the horse? When our writer examines the events and facts in their chronology, they make Amazonians look stupid, like Amazonians never saw the four walls of an elementary classroom. Now, how do you explain the fact that the interim government is busy mobilizing resources, financing homeland self-defense, while doing discreet diplomacy and a certain coalition of supplanters, imposters, gather round to prepare to negotiate on behalf of Amazonia? How did that make sense even to its members, except that they are working for the enemy? In the same vein, Chris Anu and Coopers are busy sabotaging the people's efforts, killing Amazonian fighters, dismantling bases, and then turn around declaring support for a referendum that nobody has offered or called for. How do these referendum conferences protect the peoples of Amazonia? How does a referendum debate give guns and bullets to the sons of Amazonia? Of course, and like our writer said earlier in a previous document, they are working for the enemy, hoping to weaken the hands in drafting and sending the Amazonian restoration forces to slumber. Our writer hopes that we have learned and are still learning the lesson that we should not expect any good gesture from the enemy and its compromised agents in our midst. Rather, we should examine any overture from the enemy with spy and night lenses, no matter how well packaged it comes. It is better to err on the side of caution than to be consumed by anxiety and precipitation. We know that the ongoing crisis will end through negotiations, outright recognition, or a referendum of sorts. To get any of this to happen soon enough, there is only one thing leaders, not dealers, should do: mobilize resources, equip the Amazonian restoration forces, and encourage those of them who have been deceived to cork their AK-47, to uncock them, and join their enduring brothers in pushing out the enemy. After this, Amazonia, like Eritrea, will dictate the terms of whatever method is used to determine its future. If La République du Cameroon solicits a referendum after a comprehensive Amazonian defeat on the battlefield, they will know that the said referendum will go the East Timorese way, organized 100% by the United Nations. More so, it will be easier to get nations to recognize Amazonia after a La République du Cameroon defeat than before. The case to finance homeland self-defense is more than argued for. Negotiations after victory on the battlefield will focus on such formalities as identifying gains and liabilities, sharing assets. Those who are unable to reason this out at the present time are dealers, not leaders. They seek to satisfy their lust. As Amazonians lamented on May 20th, 2023, they should also be watchful going forward, because not all that glitters is gold. We should note that leaders are not dealers, and dealers can never lead. That individuals who are unable to put the good of their people first, even before their own lives, freedom, and comfort, can only deal and not lead them. With that, we've come to the end of this comprehensive and beautiful article by Marcus F. Abendong and the end of our editorial for tonight. If you want more of such interesting articles, kindly visit our website at www.abcambatv.com for more. Subscribe, become a club member, and a part of this winning strategy. Find out payment details on your screen. I am Star Smart reporting for Undaunted ABC Amba TV.
All right, thank you, Steph Smart, for that editorial. It was a wonderful piece. Now let's get sports. Egyptians giant El Ali will take on Moroccan rivals and holders Wydad Athletic Club in the final of the Total Energies CAF Champions League next weekend. With the Red Devils seeking a record extending to 11th, let's see who gets the African crown. Well, Gab Ellison will tell us.
Latest world sports. Football. Al Ahly in chase for record extending 11th African crown. Egyptian giants Al Ahly will take on Moroccan rivals and holders Wydad Athletic Club in the final of the Total Energies CAF Champions League next weekend, with the Red Devils seeking a record extending 11th African crown. Ali will host the first leg in Cairo, this duel being a repeat of last year's final when Wydad edged them out 2-0 in Casablanca to clinch the crown. This will also be the third time that the two rivals are facing off in the final. This is the fourth time in a row that Ali are playing the final of Champions League and the eighth in 12 years, underlying their status as one of the strongest teams in the continent. Ali started their journey to the final in the second preliminary round, where they faced off with Tunisia's US Monastir, edging them out 4-0 on aggregate to make the group stages. They won 1-0 in Tunisia before completing the job in Cairo with a 3-0 victory. Ali were drawn in a tough Group B, Sudan's Al Hilal and Cameroon's Countersport. They just but managed to squeeze into the quarterfinals after qualifying on the final day with a 3-0 win over Hilal. They edged the Sudanese side out on a head-to-head record. Hilal would have completed the job in the previous match day had they converted a last-minute penalty against Sundowns. The Egyptian Giants only lost 2 matches in the group, 5-2 against Sundowns and 1-0 against Hilal, both away from home. They drew with the South Africans in Cairo 2-2 and beat Cameroon's Countersport home 4-0 and away 3-0. In the last 8, Ali edged out Morocco's Raja Club Athletic, winning 2-0 in Cairo and drawing 0-0 in Casablanca to progress to the semi-finals. They would face Tunisia's Esperance in the semis, and they finished off the job in the first leg in Raids, where they won 3-0 and wrapped it up with a 1-0 victory at home in Cairo for a 4-0 aggregate score. Basketball. NBA playoffs. Miami Heat beat Boston Celtics 103-84 to reach finals. The Miami Heat halted the Boston Celtics' remarkable fight back in the Eastern Conference Finals, clinching the deciding match 103-84 to reach the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler starred, scoring 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists as the Heat, who led the 7-game series 3-0 before being pegged back to 3-3, reached this year's showpiece. The first 8 sets to reach the finals since the New York Knicks in 1999. The Heat will play the Denver Nuggets in the best-of-7 finals. Game 1 will be played in Denver on Thursday, 1:30 BST Friday. Derek White's dramatic buzzer beater in Game 6 had tied the series, giving the Celtics hope of becoming the first side in NBA history to overturn a 3-0 deficit in a playoff final. But alongside Butler's efforts, Caleb Martin scored 26 points and Bam Adebayo recorded 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists as the Heat silenced the passionate Boston crowd. Butler, 33, was named MVP of the series after averaging 24.7 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 6.1 assists. "We stayed together as a group," he said. "We talked about going to get a tough one on the road, and we did just that. My teammates are the reason we are here. I know how good a team we are, and we made it happen." Head coach Eric Spoelstra said he never doubted his squad's resilience. "Sometimes you have to suffer for the things you want," he said. This group has shown fortitude when there are inevitable letdowns and failures, but have that perseverance to pick yourself up, that collective spirit to keep on forging ahead. The Heat are seeking a 4th NBA title and first since 2013, while the Nuggets, who beat the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference playoffs, are in search of a maiden championship. Tennis. French Open 2023 results. Novak Djokovic sends message about Kosovo after opening win. Novak Djokovic wrote a political message about Kosovo on a camera lens after beginning his quest for a record 23rd men's Grand Slam singles title with victory at the French Open. Sabir Djokovic claimed a 6-3, 6-2, 7-6, 7-1 win over Alexander Kovacevic. After beating the American, Djokovic wrote, "Kosovo is the heart of Sabir. Stop the violence." The statement was a reference to a recent tension in Kosovo, which declared independence from Sabir in 2008. Sabir has never recognized Kosovo's independence, and there has been violence in the past days following the installation of ethnic Albanian mayors in the north of the country, with police and NATO troops clashing with Serb protesters. Speaking to Serbian journalists, Djokovic, whose father was born in Kosovo, said, "I am not a politician, nor do I intend to enter into debates. As a Serb, it hurts me what is happening in Kosovo. Our people have been expelled from the municipalities. As a Serb, it hurts me what is happening in Kosovo. Our people have been expelled from the municipalities. This is the least I could do. As a public figure, I feel an obligation to show support for our people and all of Sabir. I hear there was a lot of criticism on social media. I don't know if someone will punish me or something like that, but I will do it again. I am against wars and conflicts of any kind. Kosovo is our heart, stronghold, the center of the most important events. The biggest battle took place there, the most monasteries. There are many reasons why I wrote this. The French Tennis Federation, organizer of the Roland Garros event, said there are no official rules on what players can or cannot say at Grand Slams. Djokovic was involved in a political at January's Australian Open after his father, Serjan, was filmed posing for pictures with supporters of Russia President Vladimir Putin. Gab Ellison reporting from Undaunted, ABC Amba News.
All right, thank you so much, Gab Ellison, for that sports report. And with that report, we've come to the end of Undaunted tonight. But before we go, let's take a look at our major stories.
On Undaunted tonight, we brought to you Larry Public's transport minister prescribing new methods to combat road accidents. A 47-year-old man who was murdered and dumped on his farm in Santa. We also brought to you Ambassador Harry Fusung endorsing Dr. Sacco's stand on the topic of referendum.
Well, we told you today that Moja Moja got disconnected from his source of supply. Barrister Kengne kidnapped after participating in a TV debate program. And on the foreign scene, China and BRICS are forming an alliance to dominate the global economy, as well as Ukraine. And that was it for tonight on Dorchard, bringing to the news on church stories. On behalf of my co-anchor Starsmat and the entire Undaunted crew, we say thank you for tuning in.
We'll leave you with ABC Amber TV Images. Good night and God bless you.